From there, one of the things that came to me was this realization that I was a very late adopter of Spotify, right? Because I bought my deck, I bought my albums, I'd recorded mixtapes off the radio, like you're sitting there like trying to record the thing. A lot of people don't remember because it's so ridiculous. It's actually kind of bizarre to explain to a teenager the experience, but you would literally sit there put in a piece of tape, like a cassette, and you'd wait for the radio. The song's on. Oh, I missed a bit, right? You can't go cutting and splicing and like, why don't you go to track 6? You have to like fast through it, right? But so I don't always go with this one, but yeah, I do. And so take these things for granted, right? But platforms. Oh yes, I was saying I'm a late adopter of Spotify because I felt like I'd bought the albums, I'd bought the CDs, I'd bought the cassettes, I'd made the mixtapes. Why am I going to pay for it again, right? And in reality, what I took from that was that I actually pay for Spotify now, not for the music. I pay for the data. It's the best thing about Spotify, in my opinion, is like I can make a radio station out of a band or a song, and it's going to recommend me. It's going to make me a curated playlist of music I like about my favorite song or band, and that's going to keep me current. It's going to educate me of other bands and songs I didn't know about, right? So I'm standing on this is the same for Amazon, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. Every one of these platforms is valuable because of the data they get, right? It creates a better experience for the customer than physical medium. And that's what I pay for when I pay for Spotify, right? I've recognized that platforms offer more, but they actually help sell more media too, right? The book industry is doing better now. It's in a growth period right now because we've consumed lots of digital content. We still consume it, but we also still love. If we love a book, we end up owning both. We might highlight buy the physical book and highlight it. We might still have the album. There's been a kind of retro trend back to buying decks and amplifiers and mixed stuff, all that. But I think Marshall McLuhan, which is a very famous kind of technology predictor from the 1970s, said every medium affects our senses differently. And it's because of that sensorial shift that mediums bring, we experience each thing differently. And so digital card decks or physical card decks, they'll give you a different experience. That's why they're popular, because they're like, oh, I'm engaged. I'm doing something. Like you read a book, it's a very linear, passive experience. You start at the beginning and you flip through it and you work. And said 80% of people don't even make it to the end. But a card deck, you're in there choosing, shuffling, you're involved, right? And that is a big thing. And recently we started listening to Deepak Chopra's book, Digital Dharma. And he talks about, funny, but in this industry, there's an acceptance or love-hatred with technology. Everyone's promoting their decks on technology, but they know they want to stick to the paper. And it's like, even Deepak Chopra is advocating the value of using AI for journaling and self-reflection and personal growth, right? And so this digital Dharma is like this you can use yourself to step into yourself, and you can embrace the technology to step into. Technology can help you accelerate your growth and personal learning and resolution to everything that you do, right? So I think that's really, I've come through the 7 predictions that I was making there. And it's just interesting to think about how does each technology touch your senses? It's fascinating to me to think about it. And it's much easier. You can think about decks, and maybe some people have digital decks are like, ooh, stand back from that and look at your own experience with books and with movies. How many CDs and how many DVDs do you play? Do you even have a DVD player now? I haven't had a DVD player in 10, 15 years, right? I'm sure I'm pretty normal. I used to own tons and tons of CDs. Gone. Books. I still have books, but I look at my books that I have as artwork. I almost leave them out as aesthetic things. The same with card decks. Card decks are beautiful. Card decks are often this sort of weird expression, but poor man's art. You can't go and buy an expensive piece of art. You could spend thousands of dollars buying a piece of art, but you can spend $30 on a beautiful deck from a person you love with inspirational quotes. You're accessing this kind of sized snack of inspiration. And when you use that and recognize that's what it is, and that's why people own multiple decks, right? Because they get inspiration from a different deck at a different time. And then over time, you're like, I need something new. I'm ready for a new inspiration. And you buy a new deck, right? We're on that path. It's all helping you on your self-reflection, your awareness journey. So I'll pause there for a breath.
Absolutely. Well, if you mind if I just jump in
Absolutely.
Okay, great. I just want to thank you, first of all, for all the conversations you're adding. It was so important to have your voice here. I saw the same thing that, hey, there's going to be a lot changing. And if we just go to all these traditional standard ways, we might be missing a trick here, right? And so I'm really thankful that you brought out all these ideas. I actually think it would be really helpful to just hear the 7 in a list as well, because I've got